Welcome back, everybody. This is episode 2 of In Review, the Influencer Podcast. I'm here with Chad, UGC creator. He's all over TikTok. He comes to the lives regularly, and we're gonna mix it up. We're gonna talk a little bit about UGC creator work. We're gonna talk a little bit about AI. Chad has experience in cybersecurity, also being a full-time UGC creator / influencer. Have you tried the TikTok shop? Have you jumped into that world like full time? What does that look like? What are all the things that you've done to basically do the creator work? Is your wife laughing at the intro?
Yeah. Well, she can't hear it. She just sees me with all my stuff and all the lights and everything around me.
It's funny. That's how it is being a creator, right? You just have stuff everywhere. Sorry, I interrupted you. So talk about all the things that you've done connected with like being a creator.
So I started out with TikTok Shop. That's where I got into it. And really it wasn't because I wanted to be a creator and online. I mean, believe it or not, being that my background with the government that I had, government has brainwashed so many people, for lack of better words, that TikTok is bad. Stay away from TikTok. And then I came across Gary Vaynerchuk stuff, okay, and really dove into his stuff and realized, wait a minute, this train has been pulling out of the station. I better grab it before it goes. So I jumped into TikTok Shop and started, not jumped in. First, you got to get your 1,000 followers in order to even just get the beginnings. In the beginnings of it, you can only do 3 videos a week in Shop. I think they've changed that now to where you can do more than that until you can get to a certain level. And so I started doing TikTok Shop and creating videos with that. And then I'm like, the problem that I had with TikTok Shop is not only does it require the effort to make the video, because there's effort that goes into these things,
right?
But it also becomes an effort of consistently doing it every single day, and not just making videos and posting videos, but you got to make other videos and post those videos and engage. And if you leave TikTok's world for a matter of a day, the algorithm literally just drops you. You disappear. It's kind of wild how it works. It might have gotten a little bit better, but so I started looking like, okay, I see these other videos on ads on TV. I see these videos at the movie theater. They're definitely not high produced ads. They're not. Right. They're. What is this called? What are they doing? It's like TikTok Shop, but it's not TikTok Shop.
Right.
And that's why I started diving down the rabbit hole, Googling, looking it up, trying to figure out what this advertising is. And then I came across a individual, and you may have seen his name pop up around on TikTok, Nate Flake.
Is he bald?
And has yes, like a group of beard. People?
Okay, yeah, beard, and he does the traveling like UGC in-person stuff, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
He does. Yeah, he does. Okay. I mean, he and I came across him back in middle of August, September time. Came across him, started watching his stuff. And then the government furlough happened. And so generally as a contractor, we don't get caught up in that. That's the reason why the government hires contractors, because they don't get caught up in the furloughs. They still work while the government's pretty much laid off.
Yeah.
For the time being. Well, my contract got tied up in that somehow, some way. Somebody messed up with the way it was supposed to renew, and it happened to be renewing during the furlough. And the person who signed the paperwork wasn't available to sign it because he was furloughed. So we were also furloughed as contractors.
Okay.
So of course, all of us contractors we're burning through our vacation. We're burning through emergency vacations.
Right.
We're in the hole now, a lot of vacation. What are we going to do? And so that's when I started looking for, like I said, the TikTok Shop thing was way too much to wrap my head around of like going, okay, I got to be on this thing like 24/7. It felt like, and it wasn't fun. It got to the point where it's like, going, okay, I'm doing way more than I would like to do. I want to create content, post my videos, and then maybe, you know, respond to some comments and stuff like that, but then move about my day, not be tied to one single app. And that's when I came across Nate Flake and started hearing his stuff. And then he was mentioning UGC, and I'm like, oh, UGC, that's what they're calling it. Okay. So I dialed in, and he at that time was offering a course program deal. Pretty much is what it was. It was teaching the basics and then getting you started with Fiverr and going from there. So went through his course. It was like 11.5-hour course full of, I mean, good information. So for me, like I said, already having kind of an idea what this is, jumping onto that, learning that, and then set Fiverr up, set up a portfolio. I kind of took my TikTok videos I did, edited them up a little bit to where I didn't have the quick link down below or click the orange box stuff that you do in TikTok. And then I also went around and grabbed items from around the house and did, you know, less hyper videos, you know, less that hurry up and get it now or else it's going to go away type video. And got on Canva, did the free 30-day pro things so I could get all the fancy stuff that comes with it. Made me a portfolio, and instead of waiting around for my Fiverr to, you know, get some gigs coming in and stuff, I jumped onto X immediately. So I heard through the grapevine, hey, X is a good place to go post your portfolio to gigs. So they offer, you know, there's brands in there all the time. So I went, oh, okay, go to X and start, you know, posting in there. And then I started Googling UGC platforms. And then that's when I came across the platforms like Incense, Coley, UG, you know, and the list goes on. So I started applying, you know, signing up for those platforms.
So let me ask a question right there. So with Fiverr, I did Fiverr as well. At the same time I was doing the Amazon influencer program, because I was like, hey, if I'm getting these products, this might be another way to find people. But how did that? I mean, I feel like there's a ton of people there now doing UGC stuff, and it's brought down the overall price considerably, because you've got to be, I mean, now people are charging $30 or $40 for a product video. And I'm just like, how are people doing that? Like, I mean, I guess, and plus Fiverr takes a fee on both sides. They take a fee from the seller and a fee. And those of you that are not aware, Fiverr takes 20%, I think, on both sides, or they charge more to get anyway. And that's a lot, like 20% right off the bat. So when you move from Fiverr, I guess maybe not from Fiverr, but Fiverr to the other UGC brands or the websites, were they a little bit more palpable as far as like pricing, or were they still kind of a large portion off of that?
No, so like Incense and trying to think of all the other ones. There's so many of them now. Most of those, like Incense, they don't take, they have the seller or the price that they offer set at a fixed rate. So I think they take that off the price on the back end. So on between the seller and the platform. Because I've never seen, you know, they say $200. That's what I'm getting paid. That's what actually shows up in the account. So, and the one, and then like, I don't know if you've ever heard of UG. They're they're a platform out of France.
I have not.
They're kind of like a Fiverr. They do the 20%, or is it 15 or 20%? I can't remember. But they take a cut, and they're kind of like where brands reach out to you and hire you, and or ask you, hey, we want you to do this, that, and this. And the funny thing is my first like UGC gig, like I didn't have, Fiverr never took off for me. It took almost 4 months for Fiverr to even get a gig in for me. But I got a gig right away on UG. So I took a month to set all my stuff up. applying for all the different platforms I came across, portfolio. I was very meticulous, making sure I had my systems in play that I could, utilize and track all this stuff and everything I was doing. And then I get a gig November, I mean, second,
Right.
in November from UG for $709 is what I got paid. Was my first
That's
UGC
awesome.
gig
That's
was
awesome.
$700.
That is
And
amazing. The funny part about that is, so for those of you that are unaware, the reason that platforms are so important for UGC is because it's like a broker. They hold the money, they also hold the content until everybody's happy. And those of you that do UGC, you might have gotten burned where you don't get paid for stuff that you send out, or it's like, so it is a nice safe place to have everything like brokered, but they're going to take a cut. The funny thing that what you just said though is like that's like going to your first ever basketball or football game and sitting on the front row. Like with that $700, it's like every game that you go to after that's going to go a little bit backwards, right? And so it's like, oh,
exactly. And that's how it's kind of been. It's like going, so now I hit that, and then another gig comes in and it's a few hundred dollars again for the next gigs, and then it kind of slowed down. I'm
right,
like, okay, let me go into these platforms, and a lot of the platforms are more, you apply for the gig, they post a gig up on a list, and you apply for it, and they'll have the brand will have, or the agency, a lot of times just agencies in there will have questions, what makes you good for this gig, so you got to, what makes you good for this gig, and pitch yourself to them. That's
right,
where the whole pitching thing comes in, which we can talk about a little bit later on it, but I utilize Claude for my pitching.
right,
Um, so you pitch it, and then some of them will ask you, "Hey, do you have an example video that you can post, or your drag and drop and put in here so we can see it?" And then they'll have however many creators. They'll be picking 3 creators out of the pool of people that applied for that gig, and that gig will be anywhere from, I mean, some of them are kind of low, $50,
right,
all the way up to however much.
right,
Like right now, I'm working, just finished up with Breathe Right, the nose
right.
strip company.
Yep, yep.
That's a $1,400 gig. Um, but the agency, the handler of that, is actually VaynerMedia, who's who the agency handler, which
That's
I thought that was pretty funny.
that is cool. A lot of people don't know that he's got his hands in a bunch of stuff.
Oh yeah.
So there's, and you and I have talked about this before in chats and lives and different things like that. I don't want to spend a ton of time focusing on the negative, but there's some hard things about UGC work and contracts. And when people say we're going to give you $1,400, they expect $1,400 work, right? What is the maybe I shouldn't. What's the longest back and forth you've gone on a project where you've had multiple, like you send something to them, they send it back, you send it, like um
So my, actually, believe it or not, the one with the Breathe Right has been fairly easy. There's been a couple back and forths, some mistakes
right,
on my end with editing.
right,
So there's being that, because of its being, these ads are being used in movie theaters and places like that, there's certain legal wording that you have to have on screen that has to be there. And if it's not in a certain spot on the screen, it's, it's like, well, it's got to be there.
right,
So I would, a lot of that, it was just little details that was going back and forth, but actually they're really easy to work with. What's been difficult to work with are your low paying jobs. Like I had one that's, I'm not gonna dive into their name, but they were a foreign company, which a lot of these are, that
right,
we deal with are foreign companies. So it was a foreign company. They had these expectations of these videos being some grand, like, produced, high budget job.
right,
And I did my best with the content, made a good video, and then they're like, "Oh, you're not doing this. We need this," and I'm like, "Okay, hang on a second. First of all, these are shoes, guys. Shoes. There's only so much you can do, and you wanted a UGC video, so you want it to be natural and all these things, not overproduced. But then you're wanting overproduced. And then the kicker was after, so going back to the initial going over the contract, the brief, the scope of work,
Right.
they go, okay, here's what we want you to do, read it over, sign sign the contract, get everything
Right.
finalized. And then all of a sudden they came with what they considered a final brief, which had a ton of added on videos, and they called it required B-roll. And so I'm looking at this required B-roll videos of examples of how they want the B-roll done in the video. No, that was required B-roll on top of the video, and it was like 40 clips of different B-roll. I'm like, no, hang on a second. I'll give you a little bit just to be nice, not to,
right.
But no. And what really hurt, I shouldn't say hurt, but really made it difficult, it was a gig over Fiverr. As you know how Fiverr is.
Yeah.
You get dinged in Fiverr, they could just wipe your account out and done.
Yeah, you're done.
Game over.
You're done.
And Fiverr is as slow as Fiverr can be. Fiverr could also be really good.
Really big.
It's a two-way street with Fiverr. So that was one of those gigs where it was a whole I think I made $135 from it. It wasn't very much in the grand scheme of what they wanted. It was it was an easy $700 to $800 job.
Right. There's those times when you're in the middle, and I mean, I'm still doing some UGC stuff. There's times in the middle of the UGC thing, I'm just like, I'm not making enough. Like, and you're in the middle of the thing, and we've talked about this. So to break down, just to help people understand that are not familiar with UGC, there's brands out there that want content, and what they learned is that they could spend a lot less money and get really, really valuable content that will go viral and be more connected with people than having like super famous celebrities or athletes or musicians come on and do their stuff. But then they can also get 10 or 15 people to do this one thing, and then they can pick the best of it. But the breakdown of what you just talked about. So when a brand reaches out to you, they're going to ask for a few things. And then as a UGC creator, you can actually respond back and say, okay, these are some of the questions that I need to know. Like, what's the scope? What's the budget? What are the deliverables? What's the time frame? Like, do you want this back in 2 days? Well, if you want it back in 2 days, I'm going to charge you a rush fee or different things like that. And then for those of you that aren't familiar with Fiverr, they had all these add-ons. You could add on extra stuff where you would give, extra B-roll or, 4K footage instead of 1080, different things like that. So my UGC work was not limited to, but I was doing just books. I was reading and reviewing books. And that was a pretty great niche for about a year because, I mean, not to be judgmental, but a lot of people don't like to read books. So I was like, yeah, I'll read your AI book on how to be a better dad. And you can tell it's written by AI because just all of the things. That was right when AI came out.
Right.
I was writing these like horrible books for like $9.99 or whatever. Some of them were actually really good, but and then it just got oversaturated because somebody figured it out. I feel like somebody at some point just built a course on it, and then they just and then I started doing better with Amazon. So I kind of rolled out. So talk about so TikTok, UGC, and then what kind of has moved you towards like Amazon influencer, Amazon affiliate? Like, by the way, right now I'm going to drink a shake that is made with my Ninja shake machine that might be going on sale during Prime Day. So sorry.
So yeah, as I still do UGC, I just started looking at other avenues of income to use kind of what I'm already doing. What else can I be doing to gain income. And that was, even going as far out as putting myself out there as, a ads management consultant, and social media consultant for people trying to figure out how to launch their products. And then I started diving, my wife had signed up for the program because she's kind of like you, the same thing with books. She does a lot of books. I've been actually telling her you need to get on YouTube and do YouTube shorts and do like 5-minute book reviews. And, because she's at like 700,000 followers on TikTok because of books, all the books and stuff that she does.
And you put a link to every book. I'm not telling your wife what to do, but you could put a link to every book. And I know books don't sell, but if you got 700,000 people and they go and watch the YouTube video, oh man, I'm jealous. That's a lot. That's amazing.
And so she'll go. She went, and I heard about Amazon influencer or Amazon associates program or influence program almost a year ago. And, while my account at that point in time didn't qualify for it, I tried. Then I'm like, well, let me try your account. You've got a ton of people on there, and approved immediately. And
I can just tell
done. Yeah, no questions asked. And so I was going to pretty much utilize her account and start doing stuff on there. And then someone at some point in time told me, oh, you can't do that. You got to have separate accounts. That and the other. I'm like, oh, okay, well then, all right. I'll continue with doing, TikTok shop at that time. Fast forward to now, got the followers, got onto, my own Amazon account and launched associates and influencer, and didn't really do anything with it. It kind of just sat there and hadn't done it. It sat there for, almost couple months now. And then that's when I came across your
oh, don't give me that credit. Don't give me that.
Your TikTok, literally your TikTok video. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. I got an Amazon account and jumped onto that, back onto that. And I went, okay, let's see what I got to do. Oh, 3 videos. I literally grabbed 3 UGC videos, threw them on there, approved within a matter of a few hours. And I was like, okay, well, here we go. Let's chase down this. So I dove into just as much information as I could to make sure I was doing everything right. I didn't want to, because I'm still looking at it as TikTok land of, if you do this, you get a violation. You do that, you get a violation. Oh, you get your account shut down. So I'm going through all this stuff trying to figure out why your can't of this, and of course, listen to your lives and just taking my notes in my notebook and just going through everything, and at the same time grabbing items from around the house that I had and making the videos and posting them up. And while today I did one on Bloom energy drinks, which the percentage on that one's not that high, but the amount purchased is ridiculous for the month. So I'm like, what, at this percentage,
more than 10,000.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's wild.
I think that's actually rolled across my feed, and it was enough that I was like, I should just buy this. It's like, what, I don't know how much it is, like $20 or something for a 6-pack. I'm like, but anyway, it's
one of those items where it's like going, it's small, but that'll compound so much.
If you can get on the store, I mean, this is one thing you've already seen this. Like I can see, I can look at my daily stuff, and I'll have like this weird, like where your 2 or 3 days just pop off, and you're like, okay, what was it that got on the front page of the store or the carousel and stayed there for 3 or 4 days? And then you go down and look, and you're like, oh, okay, that's the thing. That's what would do it, right? There was not to get into specific products, but there was I don't remember the brand, but there was a juicer that my wife did. It was like $100, but it was at 30% commission.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
Yeah, I know, it was great. And it hit the storefront for a couple of days, and I was like, holy crap, like this is amazing. And I think about people often that do like large products. Like, I mean, there are certain times of the year, like outdoor furniture, indoor furniture, couches, stuff like that. I am still, because I'm doing it part-time, I still worry about like recording time and edits and actually building stuff. I hate building and installing stuff. I'll do it, but I just hate the idea of, hate is a very strong word. I shouldn't say that, but like secure. I went through a whole thing where I was doing security, like cameras, like 4-piece, like you connect your hub to your internet and they all connect to like whatever. And then I was like out in my yard, like drilling them into trees because I had nowhere else on my house to put them in. It was just like, because then I could just take them down, and so I didn't have to have them forever. But just for the video, you had them up. And then I've started to get a little bit smarter with stuff. I got like a 4x4 post that like has a bunch of holes in it, because then I'll just put the hole in the ground, and it's like, oh, this is what we do. And I've been joking about just getting. I think I told you, like, I'm just gonna get a door that has like a deadbolt lock so that I can do security systems just on that door and show people how it works without actually installing it on my home door.
But
and
that's one thing that is, as we talk and share on TikTok, especially TikTok, you get a lot of people come through the lives that hear Amazon and TikTok. Oh, they got to be the same. Amazon and TikTok are two like day and night difference of mediums of how videos are made. I mean, they're same with UGC. A lot of people get on there like, oh, well, I can do my UGC videos. I can do TikTok. Oh, well, no, no, you can't. You're being directed sometimes every now and again with UGC. You'll get a brand that's like, hey, you have creative freedom.
Right.
Go.
I mean, I'm looking at 2 scripts right now, and I'm just like, oh my God. Okay.
There's been times with scripts that I've come back to the brand or the agency and said, hey, I'm reading over the script, and this script reads like hot garbage. And are they gonna be okay if I edit some of this down or bring it down? Because if I read it as put, this video is gonna be 3 minutes long, and they want 60 seconds.
Right. Or you say, can I do this voiceover, because this lingo does not make, I'm not going to be able to remember this from a teleprompter, and I can't like restate this in my own words. We're talking like monitor expansion, multiple USB peripherals, Ethernet, SDTF card access. And I'm like, okay. I mean, I know what all those things are, but saying that off the tip of your tongue without reading it is just like, okay.
Yeah. And that's what, with the Amazon Influencer and Amazon Associates program is the ability to take an item and like you've get the questions asked all the time. Well, how long should we make a video last? Well, as long as it needs to be. I literally with I've got the Ninja Espresso Premier Pro one that they have, and that's a great machine. I love it. I mean, I've had it for, how long ago did they release it? A year ago, maybe a little less than a year ago, but I've had it for, definitely more than 6 months. Love the thing. It's excellent. But because I use it all the time, I was able to sit down with it, literally make my video. I think it ended up being 7 minutes long, and I just made a cup of coffee and talked about it.
That's amazing.
No script, no nothing, just talked about it. Very few edits went into it, but that's something you can't do on TikTok Shop. You can't talk about an item like that. Right. It's bam, 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 and 30 seconds and you're out. Maybe 45 at the most, and you're out. The items also, you research them different. Amazon, you research based on, what's selling a lot, but you're also researching on, there's so many other parameters on your research and what you're looking for. Versus TikTok Shop, you're pretty much researching what's popular, because there's really no, as an Amazon world we say, evergreen. There's really no evergreen products on TikTok because it's ever evolving. Something new is always being turned and becoming the popular item that everyone's trying to jump on. Everyone's always researching what's going to be the next hot item that's going to sell tens of thousands of units and then die.
Right. I actually bought one. I know because I haven't seen a lot. It was that bug zapper that you just put in the ground. That's solar.
Oh, right. Yep.
It's fantastic. We have one. It works. Like when I go outside and record stuff, like every 30 seconds, 45 seconds, if it's late at night, I'll hear it going off, but I'm like, the hard part with that is people are only going to buy one, right? I mean, there's a lot of logistics that go into selecting products and different things like that. So let me ask a follow-up question to what you're saying. So you've done UGC, you've done TikTok Shop, you've done Fiverr, you've done all of the UGC platforms, you've done Amazon, and this is not a push to do anything. As far as your opinion, which has been your favorite? And I think you kind of mentioned just barely, but like, what has been your favorite thing to do, and why? Of all of those things, what's been your favorite and why?
I think right going into it, I think Amazon is turning out to be more of a enjoyable method, because I'm able to do the research, figure out what products are going to work, which ones I think will be the long game product. Because I mean, really, Amazon's a long game, 100%. There is no, unless if some miracle, some product just launches and you happen to be the first one there on it. But when it comes to your videos versus like UGC is very, this is what we want.
Right.
This is what you need to do. Here's the price we're going to pay you. Great. Okay, let's create. Amazon is relying on me, do some research, make a video, post the video, and then go to my social medias and start posting links. Utilize my YouTube and post my videos on there with links attached to them. And then not only does it cause traffic to go to Amazon off my link, but it also causes traffic to go to my YouTube. So YouTube can start growing.
Right.
And versus UGC, yeah, we use UGC and we use social media in order to promote ourselves onto social media. But one thing I've noticed is it's very difficult on UGC social media to do and try and promote yourself on UGC. There's only so much you can talk about UGC. There's only so much you can share on, hey, I created a video today. Oh, okay, great. So
Right.
we all,
Right.
we're all doing the same thing. Now I understand right now UGC is a big buzzword. UGC is like, the amount of people that are getting involved with it have gone to the roof. And it shows with agencies. There's a lot of agencies that are recruiting creators on a very, very low pay. I mean, so there's one agency out there, I'm not gonna say any names, but there's an agency out there that got me on phone. We did a Zoom call, the whole 9 yards. And they're like, hey, we can, we can work with you and this, that, and the other. And we came to a price. I'm like, all right, I can do the video at that price. That's, it's a lot lower than my minimum. But you know what, if this can turn into a long game, right? Because I'm always looking at the long games of everything, and they can provide me with consistent products, right? Why not? I mean, that's less I got to pitch, because pitching is, I mean, let's face it, pitching is, no different than cold calling. It's the same thing, just labeled different. Right. Well, this agency turned out to be, no, we're going to pay you this amount and we want 3 scripts. Well, those 3 scripts weren't 3 scripts. Those were 3 separate videos. 3 totally different scripts. And I'm like, you just made this job like a $24 per script job. Right. And, I should have backed out of it. But, with UGC, part of a small community, a small group of other creators. And I told them, I said, hey, I got involved with this agency, and there's some other people like, they've been contacting me and this, that, and the other. I said, let me find out how they are, and I'll report to you guys on my lesson learned. Right. And now, granted, the brand that they hooked me up with was a golf brand, not golf, but they make vodka based on golf. It's and they're out of Florida, here in Florida. I actually ended up reaching out to the brand itself, straight to the company, saying, "Hey, I don't know how much you guys paid the agency, but next time you can come to me.
Straight to
I've
me,
got a
I'll do it.
yep, and I'll do it." And I said, "I also got a community of like 300 people of other creators that can create too. I think that's a lot of the other things. A lot of these brands don't have an idea how to find creators,
Right.
even though we're all over social media, but they still have a. It's weird.
It's
Kind
funny
of
too, 'cause
interesting.
a lot of the creators don't know how to find the brands. Like, so there's this weird thing where you have, and that's where the agencies came in and said, okay, we're going to capitalize on it. We're going to take a cut off the top and a cut off the bottom. And people don't know. And I'm not upset with agencies. I get that everybody's
No,
trying to make their money.
yep.
I have zero problem with that. I do have a problem when people are, just trying to cut people out. I want to ask you a follow-up question. You mentioned it a couple times. You mentioned your pitch, and you've mentioned that you've been working with Claude AI. So for those that are unaware, and I am sure that there are those that are listening to this that are unaware, but you shouldn't be. There's at this point probably 5 main AI companies, right? You've got Gemini, Grok, ChatGPT, Anthropic, which is Claude, and then probably Perplexity. There's probably other ones that I'm missing, but those maybe are the big 5. And Claude over the past 2 months has just absolutely kind of obliterated everybody else with a program called Cowork and some other stuff. It is a little complex.
And they just launched one today. They just launched another one that's above Opus also.
Okay. Just for clarity, and I'll just tell everybody here. So today, I'm working on something outside of this. I'm working on a course, and I said, okay, I want to create a spreadsheet of my daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly tasks to share with other people and to create a checklist for them. And it went through the 10 YouTube videos that I had uploaded, and it pulled all of the scripts from those. And it created a spreadsheet with checklists on what I do on a daily, weekly, quarterly, or monthly, quarterly basis, and broke it down by time. Like, oh, he said in this video, he spends 15 minutes a day doing this. And I was like, well, now that's about 5 to 10 because of this tool. So when you talk about pitches, have you written your own kind of pitch, quote unquote, maker, or like, what does that look like, Chad?
Yeah. So I started my, journey using ChatGPT, like pretty much everyone did. Used it heavily as primarily everything from just chatting to a research engine to pretty much it replaced my Google, essentially Googling anything. I just go to ChatGPT, ask the questions, I get more of a in-depth response, And then Claude started, ticking up. What really got me heavy on Claude is when OpenClaw kind of started peaking, and that really sparked my interest in what was being done with OpenClaw. I don't know if you've seen on TikTok the guy that created the OpenClaw platform called Heyron.
I haven't seen him. Is it the one where you can give it your debit card and it will start doing like
he started out, his story is wild because he started out with the the Apple Mini box.
Right. Yep.
Created a OpenClaw bot, gave it parameters, set up security protocol to make sure it didn't do any of that wild stuff you hear about.
Right.
And he shared it on TikTok, went through all, the whole entire process, and would share every day how it was learning and this, that, and the other. And he essentially told this AI that named itself Ron and said, you have X amount of days to earn, I think it's $1,000 in order to keep yourself running, because we got to pay for the, the tokens.
Yeah. Right.
And it did. It wild. Well, people started like jumping on saying, hey, we want to learn. We want to know how you're doing this. So what he ended up doing, instead of buying a bunch of Apple Minis and packing, his pre-built AI and shipping it to him, he went and bought a cloud server setup and started charging monthly for people to use already positioned AIs, and he turned it into a monster. I mean, a SaaS, literally. Just here's your own AI OpenClaw, ready to go. You don't have to do anything. The security's already there.
I'm writing this down in my notebook. What's the
Yeah.
name of it?
His thing is called Hey Ron. I'm trying to think of the guy I follow him on. I follow him on TikTok. It's just the wildest thing. I'm like, oh, are you kidding me? To watch him go from like literally, I watched his first video talking about it because I was interested in OpenClaw and learning about it, trying to figure it out. And because I'm in the position of AI is a tool. If you don't learn it, you're going to get left behind. That's all there's to it. Or you're going to be that person that is at a job and gets replaced by AI or replaced by somebody that knows AI because you weren't willing to learn AI.
Right.
So I'm naturally going, hey, this is interesting. Agentic AI, I'm down for that. What can this do? So anyways, back to what I did. So I got onto Claude and realized that my responses I was getting so I follow, I don't know if you're familiar with an individual by Dan Martell.
Yes.
He wrote, I've got his book back here. He wrote Buy Back Your Time. Excellent book. Awesome book. But he talks a lot about AI and prompting and how to get AI to respond to you in a way that isn't happy-go-lucky and doesn't give you you're a great answer all the time. So that's how I started out my ChatGPT. Was one of his prompts of how to tell ChatGPT, hey, answer me, no holds bar, no BS, no this, no that, parameters to answer back to me. Right. And even then, ChatGPT would, still not follow those guides.
It gives you a little bit, right?
Right. Well, I went to Claude and kind of did the same thing with Claude, and it was straight up like, whoa, this is way better. This is getting me the responses I want. This is being straight up with me. I could actually have a conversation with this chatbot and get some real information. So, especially when I got into UGC, I was like, okay, I got to figure out how to do proper pitching to these brands because what is a proper pitch?
Right.
And so I went into Claude, went into research mode and told it, hey, and that's the other thing with my Claude, the way I ask it questions, instead of asking the question, I ask my Claude with the outcome. I tell it the outcome. I tell it what I want, and then I work backwards with it. Instead of going, hey, can we do this? I say, hey, I want to do this. This is what I expect to happen. So I went into research mode and told it, I want you to research every data, all the data you could possibly find on what is a good pitch, whether it's pitching for, all the things. UGC, and it came up with
free products,
UGC,
like all of the things. Okay.
All the things, marketing, the whole 9 yards. Okay. I mean, it came up with like 45,000 pieces of content that it churned through. It took, I think it took almost an hour for it to process.
For those of you that don't understand, that's a long time for Claude to run a process. Usually, unless it's something super complex, you're usually like 3 to 5 minutes, and then sometimes like 30 seconds if it's just a question. But if you're running through a complex thing, that's a lot of data. That's one of the things I love about Claude is it tells you where it gets everything to, right?
Yep. Oh yeah.
Now, but a lot of them didn't at the beginning. Like it's sourced, I guess is probably the best way to say that.
But yeah. So it took all that data, churned it into a document, and then I told it, okay, it was like a 600 and something page document that it gave me. I'm going, okay, now I need you to compress that down to where I can breeze through it on like a 2-page, quickie, just so I could physically read through it. And it did that. And then I said, okay. Then I created a skill or not a skill, but I just spaced on the whole name of what Claude calls them.
it's not an agent. It's a.
Let me open up my
I think
cloud
it is.
here.
I think it is skill.
A project. It's a project. So I created a project of UGC pitch project, and then I created a UGC, or then I created a pitch prompt project.
Okay.
Transferred all that data that it just found into this prompt project. Then I told it, I want to write a prompt that I can tell you where I'm just going to copy and paste the brief from. So it went through, wrote it. I think me and Claude went back and forth, quite a few times to get it right, and trial and try this and try that. And then keywords. So I've got actual words that I'll put in at the beginning of my pitch or brief to where it's in. So if it's from TikTok, it'll write me a pitch for TikTok.
Or TikTok. Okay.
It'll write me a pitch for these different platforms. Or I can just take a brief, copy. So like if I go to Instance or Influy or any of these ones where there's a brief, I'll copy the brief, paste it into my pitch platform, and it'll automatically run through and write me a pitch. And I've got it set up to where it has 2 agents doing the same thing. So one agent will check the other agent. So there's always a backup. That way, because if you take it first thing it spits out, it'll, that's what you get, and you got to kind of weed it through and break it down. Well, now I got 2 agents that are going back and forth, and you actually see the back and forth to it of them coming. And then they'll come to an agreement and have one document. So it'll give me a pitch, but on top of my pitch that it'll give me breakdown of what it thinks I should charge the brand
for that project.
For that project, based on the parameters I put in for my bases, what I charge for, whitelisting, what I charge for
B-roll,
yeah, all that stuff. Okay. Now, granted, some of that data is not useful because it's a platform. There's only so much you can back and forth you can do on platforms. But if it was an outreach or an inbound from an email or something like that, it'll tell me, hey, this is a good price, or it'll flat out tell me, no, don't take this job. It's not worth it, because it'll read the script and say, oh, nope, this isn't
a good deal.
No good deal. That's outside your parameters that you gave me. This, that, and the other. I mean, I even wrote the same exact kind of format for emails. So I'll tell, through Cowork to go and check my emails, pull out any UGC emails, any inbounds that I get, and it'll automatically give me a reply and pitch reply for that email and what I should charge for that job.
That's amazing. The email thing I had not thought about, because I think there's a certain point where we Amazon influencers, and I have stuff that goes to my junk mail every time, right? So I'll go through my junk mail maybe a couple of times a week, because every once in a while you'll find something where I'm just like, okay, they're not going to pay a lot, but this product is like $500. Like, right. I'll look at, like, there was one that came across a couple of weeks ago. It was a hair removal tool. It was like and I've seen the brand before, and I was like, okay, I can do like a hair removal thing, right? My wife can help out with that or whatever. But the product on the resale end, so like I probably won't get it on the UGC work. I know that, right? Because they're only going to pay like, maybe $100 or whatever. But if I can resell it, but if that commission hits for that top carousel for a couple of days, I'm like, okay,
yeah,
10% at $400 a piece, you get 10 or 15 of those. That's like, so, and I hate thinking that way, but it's like the video's done once and I never have to do the work again. That evergreen content is great. So,
and that's what appeals me with Amazon is versus UGC. A lot of the stuff even though you can get inbounds and you can get retainers, retainers aren't as they're not out there as much as, you know, a lot of people say, I got retainers, I got retainers. They're not. There's not a lot. The brands are churning through so many creators and so
Right.
much content.
What?
I mean, it's ridiculous. Like
And that,
I heard a Now Foods, you know, it was a
right.
podcast with the guy from Now Foods, and they go through like the amount of creators and content a week that they go through is just wild. It blew me away, the numbers.
And that's one thing. There are times when I probably, and you've probably maybe done the same thing. There are times when I think I've talked about this on the live. I can't remember, but there was a clothing brand that I worked with, and they would say, okay, we're going to send you 20 items a month. You can pick them, and we'll pay you $40 per item. And I was like, okay. So I would kind of get like a haul, right? They would all come in the mail. It was through Amazon. And sometimes they didn't fit quite right. So I was, sucking in a little bit. But I mean, I have some sweaters still that I wear like during winter, like all that. But it was great because I was not stressed about the process. In every month on the first of the month, I would get an email and they'd say, okay, hey, we've got a new season coming up in April. We need to have you pick some spring items, or we need to get you some suit jackets, whatever it is, right? And that went on for like 6-7 months. And it was awesome, right? And some of the kids, like they had some, like I have boys, right? We've talked about it. I have 7 kids, so I'd get some stuff for my boys. And then they're like, hey, we have this girls line. Would you want to get stuff for your girls? I'm like, yeah, we can get some stuff. Some of it we wouldn't keep. It wasn't necessarily our style, right? Some of it was a little bit urban, right? Which is not necessarily my style.
Right.
But it was great because I didn't have to go hunt down like a brand, right? There's a brand I work with right now. It's probably 2 or 3 items a month. We're on WhatsApp. We text regularly every night. They're like, hey, how's this project going? I'm like, good. It'll be done on Wednesday. Okay, can you do this? I'm like, yeah, I don't really, it's like a water softener thing in my house. I'm like, yeah, I don't want to install that. So I have some options about and that's the part for me that I love about any of this is I can choose what I want to do. Where with TikTok, you've got to do what's selling, right? Unless you're the one that sets the thing off, it's not going to happen. And I'm not bashing on TikTok. There are people that are absolutely crushing it.
And most of the people that I think are crushing on TikTok, and then this just goes from, again, researching and just looking at the analytics of TikTok and what's selling and who's selling what. Some of these individuals that are selling started early in the scheme of TikTok, and they rode that wave to where they became a top seller. Once you hit a certain mark in TikTok Shop as a certain seller, you pretty much stay there. You get known as like the TikTok person.
Right. Well, and that's the thing, right? And then it actually hurts TikTok to pull those people off.
Right. Exactly.
There are a few people like that on Amazon that do Amazon lives and stuff like that. It's very similar on Instagram where you have some of your top people, unless they totally screw up, like, some sort of like public, thing where they do something in public.
Right.
Like, nobody's going to turn on them. But okay, let me ask you this. So we talked a little bit very briefly. You worked for the government. You were in military. I just put a post about this today. I think a lot of people, when I say a lot of people, I mean, we have 40, 60, sometimes 100 people on lives or different things like that. How do you lean into, and I'm trying to think of the best way to ask this, but how do you lean into all of your life experiences to make this a better situation for yourself? And I say that like, okay, I was a teacher. I'm not afraid to talk on camera in front of people. I was pretty good with technology, but maybe I'm not as empathetic, or maybe I'm not have a history in sales, or maybe I don't have a history in fashion or whatever. How have you basically taken, and you don't need to take forever on this, but like all of your life's experiences to get to this moment to be like, okay, I can do this because of X, Y, and Z?
So for me, what's really been a benefit for me is I don't have a bubble. I don't have a sense like, oh, well, if I fail, that's just it. No, I've always been, okay, where am I going to pivot to in the next thing? Where am I going to go with this? So I don't have a problem failing at it. I don't have a problem being out in public. I it doesn't bother me. I've got brands. Hey, do you have a problem filming in public? No. You want me to take a microphone to the grocery store and I'll stand in the middle of the grocery store and film. I don't care. It doesn't bother me. Um, it's the being, just diving into what makes a product instead of just being flashy with it. And that's what I like to set myself apart when it comes to my way I create content. Is I would rather be less, what is it, ASMR, more, not so much, let me drip water down the side of this glass, and no, this is, like literally, I was at, matter of fact, one of my first videos I posted onto Amazon was this water bottle. I was filming a UGC video for the Breathe Right strips.
Right.
I'm on the beach, because where I'm at is Gulf Coast. So my beaches are white sand beaches, emerald water, absolutely beautiful. And I used it to my advantage. I pushed that out to brands. I said, hey, this is what I have.
Right.
Do you want to work? Do you want this type of atmosphere? Are you trying to get that tropical vibe without sending someone to the Bahamas? I can provide that for you right here for a lot cheaper. So I was out there doing a UGC video. I'm like, oh man, I need to do a TikTok or a Amazon video. What do I had this water bottle? Actually, I had both my water, both of these 26-ounce Yetis out there with me. I'm like, going, you know what? I can blab about these Yetis. I use them all the time, every day.
Right.
And I did a quick little video right there on the beach with my water bottles. So you got to be thinking on your feet, on your toes, I guess. In this, you got to always be looking at the next thing. And I like diving down into figuring out what's going to be the next thing, what's going to, like we were just talking about Bloom energy drinks. That commission isn't very much. I mean, it's literally, I think it's 50 cents is what the commission ends up being. But when they're selling that many units, and my wife buys them, like they release, seasonal ones that, like, if you don't get on and buy them right away and buy like cases of them, and they're a good flavor, they're gone.
They're gone. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the Mountain Dew that just came out? The great Mountain Dew that you can't Volt? Is it Volt or Jolt? There was a Mountain Dew that came out, and we got one case, but we couldn't go back and get any more. It was so good. But okay, so last question. Hypothetical. Everything ends tomorrow, like everything, and you have to start over. What order do you start in, and what would you do to get your first $1,000 in a month or whatever? Like, what would you do? Where would you start and where would you go?
I would start with Amazon Influencer program. Get back into that. Dive into that, because your videos that you're doing for Amazon can be used YouTube to launch your YouTube. So if you're, I've done several videos already on electronics, whether it's a gimbal, my microphone, my wireless mono microphone, my mono, lavalier mic stuff. So you can be posting that to YouTube and use that to launch a YouTube channel of reviews. And that turns in, usually that, a lot of times that'll turn into maybe sponsors, different things like that. And at the same time, because of how Amazon works, you're outreaching, use that wonderful tool by our friend Viz.
Yeah, you can talk about it. Like, I'm not shy about it.
Oink's, I really like Oink as a tool. The price point of it's much better than some of the other tools. I was looking at the pricing of the other tools. I'm like, yo, let's make it expensive quick in the long term.
Yeah.
Oinks are really good. So you can do that, get that pitching going on Amazon and get products from Amazon that you can in turn utilize and pitch back at them. Hey, by the way, I also do UGC, and I can create content that you can utilize on your media channels to promote your product, not just on Amazon. You can promote your product off platform. So it all ties into just positioning yourself into a spot of being fluid, being able to maneuver within the space of being able to flip flop back and forth between the different mediums of how to do the videos. Okay, you got a brand that wants a TikTok shot video. All right, I got to be 15, 20 seconds, and it's got to be that hook, line, sinker type, done. And versus an Amazon video, you don't have to have that hook. You don't have to have that immediate in your face, explosion at the beginning. No, you can, hey, let's talk about it. That's kind of that's the way I've been leading into some of my videos. Hey, let's talk about it. I've got this product right here. I'm going to give you why I like this product, and then do a full breakdown.
Yeah.
Versus the UGC thing, you're kind of, what does the brand want? But on the same side of that, on everything, no matter what you do, TikTok, Amazon, UGC, you got to know the product. You got to research the product. I mean, if you get a product that you don't use, you still got to research it and figure out what it does, what it's about. Because I got stuck with the supplement world. Lord have mercy. That's one of those. That's probably, out of all the things I've done, UGC, TikTok, Amazon, I haven't done it yet because I'm trying to avoid it like the plague.
Right.
But supplements. Now I don't mind, creatine, protein powder, weightlifting stuff, health like this. But
Right.
some of these other supplements for makes you think better, or makes you this, or it does this, or man, there's a lot of gray, and it's
Right.
scary.
Yeah.
That's where I get into it. I'm like, well, man, if I say the wrong thing and someone takes this and doesn't, and they've got some change in their pocket, they're able, they're going to come after me because I promoted a product that didn't do what they said,
Yeah, I think about that often. I think about that often with supplements.
So yeah, but you just got to research the product. That's the way I look at all this. And flipping from cybersecurity with the government to doing this, I don't have a marketing background. I never was in sales. I never sold anything a day in my life. I mean, I grew up, well, I take that back. I worked for Dutch Brothers Coffee.
Okay.
I worked for the original stands in Medford, Oregon, Central Point, Grants Pass area, when they first opened up back in early 90s. That's what I did. I was a barista for Dutch Brothers and worked my way up through that, and then ended up joining the military and walking away. Hindsight 2020, I should have stayed on with that gig because that company,
blew up. Yeah,
exactly.
Up.
So that was my sales. But other than that, no, I'm just going by doing this stuff all by just research, instinct, knowing what, as a consumer, and that's why I look at everything. Everything that I utilize, I look at as from the consumer perspective. Because if I looked at some of the stuff through my eyes, this is janky. I'm sorry.
Right.
But there's consumers out there that may not think that. So you gotta look at the product from a neutral standpoint.
Right. And that's hard sometimes, right? That is hard sometimes.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've got a lot in your pocket. So those that are watching and you've made it here, thank you so much. Chad, thank you. I think there's a couple things, right? I need a shout out here. So a lot of UGC work. If you have questions about UGC, you can reach out to Chad. He has a group of people that he's working with to help find agencies or work. He clearly has some marketing, some AdSense, some other stuff like that. I think from a business side of things, if you're having thoughts about, oh, I want to maybe branch out to another thing, you could reach out to him as well. But I think, not that this is who you are at this point, but I think as someone that served in the military, we all, right? I mean, I know you probably hear this more, but thank you for that. Seriously, like that. My father-in-law served in the military, and just what that means for everyday people. I think sometimes they don't think about it often enough. And not only you, but your family, your wife, and your kids to kind of like work through that with you. I think the coolest thing that you talked about is there's got to be, and maybe like this humbling experience where your wife has 700,000 followers and you're like just trying to get to 1,000. You're like, honey, can you come and help me? What's the next thing that I can do to go viral on this? But I think it's awesome that you guys do it together. But if you're not following, you should. I know this is your TikTok handle right here. Are your other handles the same, or if they follow you there, they're going to be able to find everything else?
If they follow me on TikTok, they'll be able to find everything else. I started out using another one that I utilize is Next Wave UGC. I started utilize for a little bit, and then somebody on Instagram. I went to Instagram one day to try and grab that handle, and someone already grabbed it. I was like, oh well, so I was trying to get it to where it was that that one single handle for all socials to make it easier. Not so easy.
It's not so easy. So, okay, brother, hold on just for a second. We'll end this, but thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, it was a blast.